The Toronto Blue Jays have made a signing. We're going to dive into it right away.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers, join today and you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Some huge Blue Jays news. I'm pumped, ready to go. Justin Turner.
It's about time. Ross Atkins wakes up and he signs Justin Turner to a $1,013 deal. $13 million deal. $13 deal would be a huge bargain for the Blue Jays. But yeah, finally, Ross Atkins has made a move. For some reason, some Blue Jays aren't happy about it. I mean, I guess we were hoping for JD Martinez or me personally, Jorge Soler. But Justin Turner has been doing it for a long time, and he's been doing a great job at the plate for a long time. And the Jays have needed hitting, and Ross finally comes in and gives us the hitting. I don't understand why anyone would be upset about this.
No, I mean, he's a proven guy. He's reliable. You know exactly what you're going to get with him. I'll read you his stats from last season, and you can tell me where they rank on what would have been the Blue Jays team last year. So his batting average is a 276.
Yeah, 276 would be number 2 on the Blue Jays.
His slugging percentage is a 4.55.
That is also second on the Blue Jays.
His OPS, 800.
That would be tied for first.
23 home runs.
That would be second on the Blue Jays.
And 96 RBI.
96 RBI is first on the Toronto Blue Jays. So with all these numbers in mind, and you're looking at last year's lineup, how can you hate this signing? I mean, like I get he's old, 39, but it's a 1-year deal. Maybe we were hoping to ink a guy like Jorge for 3 years, 4 years, but there's a lot of risk involved in that kind of deal. And Ross has proved in the last few years that he's great at signing these 1-year deals. When you look at Kevin Kiermaier, you look at Brandon Belt, a lot of these guys have come in and had huge impacts on the Toronto Blue Jays lineup. So another 1-year deal, only $13 million, and there's $1.5 million in performances and incentives there. So he's pretty much guaranteed that entire salary. But I think people just need to trust in Ross. There's still about a month until spring training. I don't think this is going to be the last move. I'm not sure if you agree with that or not, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's something to be excited about for sure.
Yeah, so we talked so much on Monday about Jorge Soler. Now, I want to we have a stats comparison sheet right now. So games played, obviously, Justin Turner's played more. Plate appearances more. Hits, Justin Turner has 154. Jorge Soler, 126. Home runs, Jorge Soler had him 36-23. RBIs, though, 96 for Justin Turner, 75 for Jorge Soler. Stolen bases, Justin Turner had 4 stolen bases, whatever. Batting average, 276-250. On base percentage, 345-341. So pretty close there. So a lot of these stats are like right in the mix of being the same. Yeah, you might not get as many home runs, but maybe you'll get a better batting average. A guy that gets on base more, that drives in more runs. And personally, I take that. And a guy that you could swap in at third base.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for the third base situation here. He is slotted as a third baseman, but when you look at the games last year, he didn't play a lot of third base, unfortunately, because he had 98 games starting at DH, 41 at first base, 10 at second, and then only 7 at third, with a total of 146 games played. So that third baseman, he might get a few starts there, but I don't think this is a long-term situation at all for the Blue Jays.
For sure.
I think with this signing, though, it's going to be interesting with the lineup implications with how they deal with that third base and maybe even that second base role now. But yeah, when you compare it to Jorge Soler, Justin Turner has been a career 280, 285 hitter. And you look at Jorge Soler, he has been very up and down his entire career and haven't been having trouble staying on the field, staying healthy. So if you look at it in terms of risk, I think this is a very low risk deal. Again, 1 year. If it goes well, maybe you resign him. But again, he's getting up there with age, probably closer to retirement. He has been kind of on the decline, but still, and like we compared him to last year, Vladdy and the rest of the Jays, he's top 3, top 2 in majority of categories. And also, when you compare him to other guys like JD Martinez, he has a better WAR, more hits, more. JD Martinez really only has him in slugging percentage, home runs, and RBIs, which those categories do matter. But I don't understand why there's just this huge uproar on the Justin Turner signing. For an organization that's needed bats for a long time, this is a great signing.
Yeah, I'm over the moon, honestly. I was starting to get to the point where I didn't think we were going to make something happen or something impactful. But this I'm sort of thrilled that we got something at least, right? It's showing that Ross is looking around, seeing what's out there. And personally, like, I don't know. I think that maybe this is the last signing that we'll see, but I think there's still a big trade to come.
Well, exactly. You see it every year, kind of with the Jays. Last year, you see all with the Varsho trade. And obviously, before the deadline, if people are struggling, where maybe this isn't working out exactly how we hoped, there's always the option to make a trade at the deadline.
Yeah.
So their options are pretty much limitless for the Blue Jays. They could be in on maybe a fourth outfielder. Right now, it's Nathan Lucas as our fourth. I don't love that. Our infield depth's pretty good. Obviously, pitching. I would be surprised if Ross signs pitching because how much he loves it. But another thing for Justin Turner, like people might be worried about him on the decline. I looked at Fangraphs for his projections for next year, and it is a 268 average with a 337 on base percentage, only 15 home runs, so that is a little bit of a dip. 64 RBIs, but 762 OPS. So I am over the moon for this signing. I'm really behind it. I'm not sure if all of you guys agree. Feel free to leave your opinion in the comments for us. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully he can get on the field a little bit. I know his defense isn't great, but I think he's just going to kind of be in the thought when like people need a rest, right? When you have Vladdy who's been playing 30 games in a row, and then you can throw him at second. If Biggio, you want to have a rest day. So it's not going to be an everyday thing. He's mostly going to be slotted in that DH. And also with JD Martinez and Jorge not signing here, that gives more of an option for Vladdy to be DH, George Springer to be DH, Kirk, Jano. Gives the Jays a lot more options for how they want to orchestrate this lineup.
Yeah, and there is a lot of options. And I mean, I've been looking I've been on Twitter sort of all morning, checking some stuff out, seeing what the fan reaction to it is. And it seems like there's not a lot of people happy with this, which is shocking to me because, like, yeah, there's some people saying, well, I signed Justin Turner instead of Jorge Soler, JD Martinez. But it's like, maybe as Ross, they like them better. They like the fact that, which we've talked about lots of times, is that consistency, right? You know exactly what you're going to get. He's not an up and down guy. He plays the same every single year, or around the same anyway. So I like this. I have always said that the more consistency this team can get, I think is better. And the fact that he's a veteran in this league, maybe he instills some of that attitude into Vladdy and Bo and the rest of them. I think this is a very, very strong move for the Blue Jays, and I don't really at all understand the dislike for it.
I think this is kind of coming from a standpoint where we were in on Shohei Ohtani this year.
Yeah.
And then when we get disappointed with Shohei not signing, it's like, oh, like I guess instead of Shohei, we're getting Justin Turner. And that comparison is pretty unfair because you compare anyone to Shohei Ohtani, you're going to be disappointed. Shohei Ohtani is the best player in baseball right now.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that's up for debate. Yeah, like it's just crazy some of the fan perspectives. He's going to pull in. He's going to have a Brandon Belt role in this offense.
And I think he's better than Brandon Belt. Like, let's, like, you know what I mean? Like, as much as we can make that comparison, let's also think this is, you just upgraded, right? Because we had Brandon Belt. You just upgraded. So be happy that we have a guy that's more consistent than Brandon Belt, and that'll produce more offense. Yeah, we have to pay for him. Like, 13 million is a lot of money.
But it's not our money, right?
It's not our money. And to be honest, we were gonna spend $700 million on Shohei Ohtani. So to spend 13 on Justin Turner as a guy that's going to come in for a year and maybe instill some values and maybe try to bring a winning culture here.
Well, and you saw Bo Bichette on Blair and Barker just advocating for this guy, saying they needed a veteran presence, saying that this guy would be perfect for the Blue Jays lineup. And there you go. Ross Atkins goes out and makes the move.
Yeah.
And the team is going to be excited about this. He's probably going to slot into that 4-5 role. We'll see if the Jays make any more moves this offseason. And it's going to be interesting. I know you said that the Jays are done. I don't think they are. I think Ross has something else up his sleeve, whether it's a trade. Maybe, I'm not saying it's going to be this huge move, like probably not a Cody Bellinger anymore. I think that's probably off the table. but maybe just like a role player.
Well, that's what I think. I think it's going to be a trade more so than a signing if it's going to be a move. So
And Ross does like to pull kind of random tricks out of his bag. Obviously, nobody was expecting that Dalton Varsho trade from last year. So it's going to be interesting which way Ross Atkins wants to go with this.
yeah. So coming up, we're going to sort of go over the lineup and where we think Justin Turner's going to fit, and where he'll slot in the batting order. So yeah, we'll get into that right away. Happy Super Bowl to all of you who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super big bets. And that will happen. It is going to be disgusting how many bets I place. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or two or three. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit fanduel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's fanduel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Yeah, so we're gonna jump into the Blue Jays lineup here, but back to your bets. Good thing for you, the Super Bowl isn't for another week, and this weekend is the NHL All-Star Game, so not a lot of games going on. Probably a good thing for your bank account.
Yeah, I needed a break, right? So it is going to be sweet. But then yeah, it's like a break for a week, and then I'm just going to get absolutely destroyed on Super Bowl weekend.
And then you're gonna make up for all that money gained back in your pocket.
That's
blow
right.
it all that weekend.
Yeah.
Or hopefully, maybe you'll have a pleasant surprise and you'll guess it right because you didn't want the Packers winning before. You had that one right, and you've been decent with your predictions so far in the NFL.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your Lions did get booted last week against the Niners, but that's something we can move on from.
Yeah. I don't even want to talk about that. That was disgusting.
All right, so back to Blue Jays baseball. So how is Justin Turner going to fit into this lineup? And I'm going to quickly just go over where he played again last year. He had 146 games, 98 were at DH, 41 at first base, 10 at second, and then only 7 at third base. So most likely Justin Turner is going to be like almost our everyday DH. Probably will, like with the catcher situation here, Kirk Adjana will be thrown in. Obviously, Vladdy, George Springer, whoever needs rest may have that DH spot. And when that happens, I think Justin Turner, again, is kind of fitting this Swiss Army knife thing where he can play anywhere, not necessarily providing the best defense of anyone on the team, but it is an option.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that, yeah, we can't look at him to be our everyday third baseman just for the fact that he's not the youngest guy out there, but he could definitely slide in the case when we need somebody. But we have so many options with Davis Schneider, IKF, Espinal, Biggio that like we don't really need this guy to play third or anywhere. Like we have the defensive side of it covered. So a guy that can come in and just swing the bat and hopefully drive in some runs is what we're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. And I kind of did the liberty of making what I thought would be the Toronto Blue Jays lineup with Justin Turner in it. So the first three, I don't really think are up for debate. I think George Springer will be number 1, Bo Bichette will be number 2, and Vladdy will be number 3. Where the fourth comes in, I know some people like Jano in this 4 slot, and I don't mind him there. The problem is the average isn't really there for me.
Yeah.
He has shown that he is clutch in situations and he does have power. But I think the better play here and the safer player would probably to have Justin Turner start there, and be the fourth at bat for this DH spot here. And I don't know how you feel about that.
I'm the same way. I would like to put JT in that number 4 spot. Hopefully that it's just more driving and runs, like we've seen with the RBI statistics from the last couple of years that he does drive runs in. So in that 4 slot, hopefully you get Bo gets on, and he's been good at that. Bo's been so good at getting base hits and getting on base that. Yeah, you just need somebody there that can punch him in.
And I think it's going to be hard to explain to Jays fans if you're going to pay $13 million for a DH not to have him in the top 4, especially to start the season. Obviously, over the season, may have some ups and downs that might flip-flop, but I'll move on. Going into 5, I have Kevin Biggio at 5. I think he's going to slot in there well. Again, this might be an argument with the Kirk Jano debate, but I think to start the year, how Biggio ended last season, I think it's an easy pick for me in that 5th spot.
Yep, I don't hate that either. We saw this guy, he can get hot, right? And when he gets hot, he's hitting for average, which is great, right? So you just hope that he can stay on that pace. And then yeah, if so, I don't hate that either. I think personally that I'd go with the Jano and Kirk myself, but I think there's a very good argument for either one.
Yeah, and that's moves into my next number 6 spot, and that will be Jano or Kirk. I think initially I want Jano to start, but obviously it's going to depend on the pitching matchups. Obviously, Gosman likes a certain catcher better.
Yeah.
I think he was pitching with Kirk majority of the year last year. So, and they just obviously pitchers have their preferences. Moving on to 7, I have Dalton Varsho to start. I don't necessarily like love that and agree with it, but I just think that's how it's going to be. I think personally, I rather have Davis Schneider there just for upside, and especially when you have two guys. For me, like Kevin Biggio walks a lot. If you have Alejandro Kirk in there, he's going to walk a lot. So you just need somebody to get in there and hopefully hit like something into the gap, maybe down the line. Just drive these guys in.
Yeah, and it is tough. Like that's where I have Varsho as well. But I could see it, and it really depends who we're playing each day, right? If it is Biggio, if it is Schneids, if it is IKF, right? If it is SB. So obviously, like all these little things are going to come into consideration of who's playing during that game, right? Because I think David Schneider with, maybe Espinal in it too that day will hit further higher, like higher in the lineup. And then, SB's probably hitting in the 8 spot. So, but then if it's IKF, I think like him and SB are pretty much going to be slotted in strictly for the 8 spot.
No, for sure. It definitely depends on the pitching matchups with the like left-handed and right-handed pitching. But I'm just saying, like this list for me is like opening day. If we were say we are going into a playoff series in April, and this is what we need to field, this is our team, what we're left with, and that's what I would have personally.
Yeah.
But with number 8 and 9, that just leaves. I think it's going to be David Schneider at 8. I think it should probably be Varsho, but I think it's gonna be David Schneider at 8, and then obviously Kevin Kiermaier turning out over the order at 9.
Yeah, I love having Kiermaier there. He's he fits that mold for the 9th hitter, where it comes where you just need to get Springer back up, and your big guns back to the top of the lineup, and Kiermaier does that, right? He flips it, gives you a shot to get some more runs, and hopefully this year we'll be able to actually like utilize that and then drive them in.
Yeah, Kevin Kiermaier, obviously a fan favorite, one of our favorites as well. It's tough to hate on that guy. Made a huge impression in Toronto pretty much immediately with that the catch he made at Rogers Center. And then that leaves the bench of IKF, Espinal, and then either Kirk or Jano, depending on what they do.
Yeah.
And that is your Toronto Blue Jays batting order. But now we have the fielding problem. And I think that's going to be where there could be a ton of changes and ton of different combinations.
Yeah, so I mean, you look at one. Vlad's going to play one. Shortstop, you got Bo. Catcher, your 2 options are Jano or Kirk, which I'm a Jano fan as well. Then in the field, you got Varsho, Springer, and Kiermaier. It's the second base and third base position that are going to be very interesting. And personally, I think that you leave Justin Turner as the DH. You slot Schneids in at 3, and you put Biggio in at 2. I've seen some people say that they want Biggio at 3, which I think is the wrong move. I think he's so solid at 2, and I think Schneids has the arm for 3.
Yeah, the problem with that I have between third and second base is second base for me is a lot easier to play than third base. Obviously, you do need that arm strength at third base. And the options we kind of have for these 2 positions, we have Justin Turner, David Schneider, Kevin Biggio, IKF, and Espinal. Again, I don't really see where Espinal fits. So if there would be a trade, I can kind of see him being included. But again, like how much weight is Espinal going to carry? Probably not that much. I think IKF might be the third baseman, maybe not opening day, but I just don't know if you sign a guy just to not play him at third base. I know I didn't have him in my batting lineup, but IKF is here for his defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if he started at third base, but I'm going to have David Schneider starting there as well to start the year.
Yeah.
And then that's going to move Kevin Biggio over to that second base spot. You saw Kevin at the end of the year making unbelievable plays at second. Yeah. He looks very comfortable there. Why move him?
Yeah. And the whole David Schneider piece, I think it's such a slap in the face to him if you start IKF after the season that David Schneider had, also getting snubbed, like where he wasn't getting played as often. I think let David Schneider be our starting third baseman, give him opportunity to succeed. And then, if things aren't going well, then okay, we have IKF, we have SB if we need to switch something around. But I think give the guy, he's earned the right to be that third baseman right now.
No, we are all in on David Schneider on this podcast. I know a lot. Like, he did kind of fall off at the end of the year last year, and that does concern some fans. But I think he had the whole offseason. He kind of got settled into the major leagues. He can finally have a spring training fully in the major leagues and have that experience. And I think he's just going to build on what he did in August of last year.
Yeah, and the biggest part of that falling off is that he was only getting played every so often, right? And so that really hurts somebody that's not in there getting consistent minutes and games. So I think if you slot him in and you let him just say, "Hey, go, we're going to give you 35 games. Do what you can. We'll see what happens."
And that's one thing that I hope is going to happen,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen it.
No.
So if they mishandle this David Schneider thing, I can see him having a very down year if he's only going to be playing once a week sort of thing, right? This guy could go from hitting 550, which obviously is unrealistic, down to like 220 in that same amount of time span. So it's going to be interesting to see how these this Blue Jays team deals with all these positions and all these different combinations that could happen on opening day. With the NFL playoffs, though, it's almost over, honestly, because the Super Bowl is in 2 weeks. Wow, did the time ever fly by? And can you believe it? Baseball season is coming up too. NHL All-Star Game, bunch of things going on right now. Obviously, the NBA is in full fruition as well, and this is the best time, I think, of all, like, in sports season, that you could tune in to our Locked On 24/7 streaming channel. It's here for you, covering all those sports. Like I said, just go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national streaming channel.
So yeah, when we come back, there was a Jorge Polanco trade that came out, and somebody made a like graphic, I guess, of what the Blue Jays would have had to give up for Jorge Polanco. We're going to give our opinions on if that's even a possibility that we would have wanted, and if we think that what this guy's sort of projection, if it's realistic.
Everyone has that one vehicle that they just want to keep on the road. It means a lot to them and their family. And you can do that with eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your vehicle, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because of eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available for U.S. customers.
Before we get into Jorge Polanco, I just want to give a sort of like our condolences to Jimmy Williams. He spent 9 seasons with the Blue Jays managing and whatnot. He passed away, I think it was 2 days ago, at the age of 80. Sort of sad, like anybody in the Blue Jays community. It's just sort of brutal to see, right? To think some of these guys that we followed through our lives, like are some of them could be getting to that point too. It's just it's something that sort of pulls on the heartstrings a little bit.
9 seasons with the Blue Jays is not a short amount of time. It's devoting quite a bit of your life to the Blue Jays organization. So condolences to him and his family. We're going to move on to Jorge Polanco. And just what we saw this other day on when the trade happened was they made kind of a Jays version of the Jorge Polanco trade and what we would have had to give up for Jorge Polanco. So in this trade, the Twins sent obviously Jorge Polanco to Seattle, and Seattle received Justin Topa along with the Mariners' third prospect and 2 other prospects in the system. So a pretty big haul to give up for Jorge Polanco. And the Jays version of this would have been something like Mitch White, Yimi Garcia, Addison Barger, and Adam Macko.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the guy that put this out. This is Josh, the Jays fan. I don't know where you I'll ask first of all to you. Do you realistically want Jorge Polanco for the deal that he put out?
No, I'm going to say it's flat out no, because what we just kind of went over is we don't even know who we're going to start at second base. We have like 5 options. So why would we trade a huge piece like Addison Barger and Yimi Garcia, obviously a little bit down of a down year, but still has the potential? Why would we trade pieces like that for a guy that obviously he would cement this role as second baseman. I don't think that's an argument here at all.
Yeah.
But it's just the upgrade. Is it worth it with how Kevin Biggio played at the end of last year? And Jorge Polanco has kind of struggled to stay on the field.
Yeah, you know what? I like Jorge Polanco, but do I think that he's a good Jays fit, especially for the price that we would have had to pay for him? Not really. I'm sort of I saw this come out and then this post, and I was sort of like, eh. Like I'm like, I'm happy we weren't involved in that a little bit, because I think if this would have been the move that we made, I'm so much more happy with the Justin Turner move than I am with than with if we would have gotten Jorge Polanco. I think I would have the reaction would have been quite different for me.
Yeah, like Jorge Polanco, he kind of had a weird year last year. He only played 80 games. He slashed 255 at 14 home runs in those 80 games. So that's pretty good for a guy like him. And then 77 hits. So last year was a good year for him, but it's the same thing. It's if you're only going to get 80, 90 games out of the guy and you're giving up all these pieces, is it really worth it? Just going back all the way to 2016 for him, he only played over 100 games. It says 4 times here. So that is 4 times in about 8 years. That's half the time. And 100 games is obviously this MLB season is 162 games. So that's not even like that's 2/3 of the season pretty much.
Yeah.
So not a lot of games played there. When he is healthy, he is a top 10 second baseman in the league. It's just I just don't get the value for the return here. I don't think Jays fans would be very happy if we made this move. It would confuse a lot of fans. But I think Ross Atkins, it kind of would fit with his narrative because he has been confusing fans this whole offseason until I think today, finally signing a bat.
Yeah, obviously he had a plan in motion. So what I think happened is that when I think this Justin Turner deal was in the works for a lot longer than we of course than we know, right? Like fans do a bunch of speculation. We do a bunch of speculation. We love it. It's part of my favorite time during the offseason is that speculation of free agency, and then close to the trade deadline as well. That's sort of I love that time. I love speculation. I love taking a look at who are possibilities, what could we do. So I think this acquisition was in the works for a long time. And that's why when we went and made the move for Yaya Rodriguez, that we said, oh, well, it's pitching. Why do we need more pitching? Like, why don't we get a hit? Obviously, I think this Justin Turner move was in the works.
Oh, absolutely. It's just where are our assets more valuable at second base or at DH or third base?
For sure.
And a lot like I know for me, I was panicking a little bit, like just thinking like, why haven't the Jays signed anyone? Why haven't the Jays signed anyone? When you go over the free agents, JD Martinez is still there, Jorge Soler is still there, Cody Bellinger's still there, Matt Chapman's still there. Nothing's really happened with these guys. So obviously, teams are talking to them. They are in on deals, but like you said, the Jays probably were talking to Justin Turner for a long time, trying to figure out the contract details compared to who they could have got. But I think the Jays kind of got their guy. We got to trust Ross. And good thing he didn't make this Jorge Polanco trade because that would have left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I guess to sort of wrap up, I just want to end by saying, for those of you who maybe aren't thrilled at this move, I want you to take a look at go look at the career that Justin Turner's had, and the numbers he's still putting up last year. The attitude, the winning mindset that he brings. I think this guy is going to be a big part of this Blue Jays team this year.
Yeah, you can't just look at it from like, oh, he's just going to be DH. You got to look at it from the leadership he's going to bring, the experience he's had in the playoffs, and just the veteran presence. It's just this, we've talked about it multiple times, that this Jays team at some point seems unserious. And hopefully Justin Turner can be the guy to kind of mediate things and ground this team back again when they are kind of getting lost in left field with some butterflies and stuff like that. I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. Our Twitters here are Cutter First 2 because I couldn't get the one. And Braden 5 Owasco is Braden's here. And I just wanted to one more time bring up the Locked On Sports 24/7 streaming channel. Whenever you guys want to tune in, obviously, when you want it 4 a.m., 4 p.m., 12, whatever you want to do, whenever you want to digest your sports content, head over to the Locked On 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube.
Thanks, guys, so much for watching, and tune in tomorrow, actually, for the next episode.
Yeah,
we're back to 5 days a week.
We probably should have let off with that, and maybe we'll edit something in there. But yeah, February 1st, we're back to 5 days a week. So that is tomorrow, believe it or not. So episodes will be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday through Friday the following weeks up and through the season. So we're excited for it. Leave comments on how you felt about this podcast, what you think we can do better, what you like, didn't like. We appreciate it all. We're always looking in the comments and responding, and we're excited to get back into some full-time Jays baseball.